No idea what's going on here. Oh, good. The lecture file just finished. Boy, this is a really bad picture of me, but sideways. I don't know what's going on here. At least I'm getting the picture to show, but so it's showing right. I didn't certainly change that. Any questions before we begin? Actually, that improved my picture. How do I get out of here? Well, kind of improved it. Not really. I need to have the green background and get that between the lecture and the lab. All right. What happened there? If there's no questions, let's begin. Let me share my screen. There we go. So today is January 14th, and we're going to be discussing the infectious disease project. You'll be getting this project today as well. Let me remind you, you do need to read the textbook, chapter 3 through the section entitled Compound Light Microscopy. You need to have that read before next week when we will be discussing Lab 3 microscope and Lab 4 stains. And let me remind you as well that you have a practice quiz. You get 1 point of extra credit or about 1 point of extra credit on that quiz. It's going to cover the syllabus, Lab 0 and Lab 1, and Chapter 1. You do need to use Respondus Lockdown Browser to access this quiz, and it'll say it's worth 0 points because each question will be worth 1/10 of a point if you get it correct. So you get a little bit, maybe if there's 10 questions, you get 1 point. If there's 13, you'll get 1.3 points. I think there's 10 questions. This must be taken by Saturday, 11:30 or 11:59 p.m. Any questions about any of this? If not, let's talk about beginning the infectious disease project. You can find that project under week 2 of the lab. Just go down to week 2 of the lab, infectious disease research project. Click on that, and you'll get a file very similar to what I'm showing you right here. I've got this highlighted because I wanted to discuss certain points. And the infectious disease project is worth 100 points. It's a lab project. Remember, you need to finish the plagiarism quiz and get 100% on it in order to get 100 points possible. If you don't finish the plagiarism quiz, you'll get 0 points on this infectious disease project. The plagiarism quiz is worth 20 points as well. On this infectious disease project, you will choose a specific infectious disease, determine how it causes the disease, what microbe does to the human body, how we treat the disease, how the social and economic and political factors affect our ability to deal with the disease. In a sense, you will become an expert on one particular disease. Now, when you choose this disease, you have to get it cleared by me, so email me. And if you're the first person with the topic, you will get the disease. I will break down the disease a little bit so that
I have a question.
two people, just let me finish here and then I'll take your question. So like two people can get the topic AIDS because I'll break it down into one person talking about HIV-1 virus and the other person talking about HIV-2 virus and how they cause AIDS. With chickenpox, I will have one person talk about the disease chickenpox and a second person talking about the disease shingles. You may talk about the other disease in passing, so don't spend more than a sentence or two talking about like shingles if you're talking about chickenpox. Any questions about that or any other questions?
I did have one question.
Uh-huh.
When would you like us to email you with what we would like for our topic?
Anytime Tuesday, so that's starting today. I will uh, divide up the disease like um, you cannot choose, and I'll also tell you whether you can do it on that topic or not. Like if you ask for pneumonia, I'll tell you that's too broad. You need to pick one agent that causes pneumonia, and there's many agents that cause pneumonia. Okay? Like you can do E. coli infection of the lung causing pneumonia. That would be acceptable. You cannot choose pneumonia, like for example, but you need to clear it with me, and I'll try and break it up so that people who want to do it, more than one person can do it on, well, at least certain diseases I can break up. Any question about any of that? All right. So the first person in will get it, assuming you send it on Tuesday. If you sent it before Tuesday, I will ignore your request and you'll have to send in the request again. You can read about the rationale of this project. Let me talk about the project format. You need to pick an infectious disease, clear it with me. The first person to email an email at Canvas will be assigned that disease. You need to then write up a report. You'll submit a written report. The report must be typed. It must be single spaced, have 1 inch margin, and please use 12-point font. If it's anything smaller, I'll have trouble reading it. And if I have trouble reading it, you know you're not going to get a good grade on it. So make sure it's 12-point font. Written report must include a cover, but not a cover page. So you have your cover information, the title of the disease, your name, the date, the course name, and this cover information should be on page 1 of your text information, meaning I do not want a cover page. If I were to print it out, that would just be wasting paper. Text should not exceed 5 single pages. If it's less than 4 pages, and we're talking about pages of text. If it's less than 4 pages, you'll get a penalty. If it's more than 6 pages, you'll get a penalty. I forgot to mention to the earlier lab, the page numbers did not include your pictures and the references. They include everything else, meaning your body of your text, the text in the paragraph. Describe all aspects of the disease. You should have the report content and the report content of this project will be worth 60 points. There will be additional 15 points for grammar, spelling, flow, and readability. We'll talk about what you need for the report content in just a minute. As much as possible, you should write this report in your own words. Only use direct quotes when absolutely necessary. Any information that is in quotes, you should give a in-text citation for where you got the quote from. Any information that is not common knowledge, whether you directly quote it or you paraphrase it, it must be cited with a in-text citation. So something like you say, how many people have died in the United States from COVID-19? That is no longer common knowledge. And so you should give an index citation after that for where you got that information. Any question about any of that? If you do not do that, then you will be marked down for plagiarism. If the report is entirely plagiarized, you may get a 0 on it. Last term, I had a student turn in a project where Turnitin said that about 55% of the project was plagiarized from another source. And I went and looked at it, and the student simply cut and pasted sometimes whole paragraphs, sometimes whole sentences from other sources. Nothing was very large. There was nothing like 10% of the paper came from one source, but the largest was like a paragraph. And that is way too much. Um, in the first place, it's plagiarizing because she didn't put it in quotes and say where she got it from. And in the second place, any paper where even if you put it in quotes and say where you got it from, if it's over 50% of the paper, I will mark you down, meaning I want this paper to be written mostly in your own words. And the reason why I put that rule on here, which isn't in the text, I probably should put that in the text, and that is I had a student turn in a paper where 85% of the paper was from another source. And I went and looked at it, and she put it all in quotes and had a citation. So she didn't legally plagiarize, but I decided that's way too much of the paper to be put in quotes and then cited. So if you do that for over 50% of the paper, you will be marked down. And what you can do is just take a look at it and determine what your uh, the Turnitin score is, and then make sure everything is um, cited. And if it's over 50%, you need to change it and write it in your own words and bring it down below 50%. Any question about any of that? So yes, this paper will be checked for plagiarism, and I did mention that last term. And Turnitin will give me a score, and you guys can see the score. Let me stop the share here just for a minute. I wasn't sharing. Is that the case? Anyone commenting? Was I sharing?
You were sharing.
Okay, I'm not sharing now.
No, we could see the document previously. Now we see your canvas. We see the modules.
No, that means I am sharing. I don't want to show you that. I'm going to bring up the grade book, and that's why I don't want to shut down the share. And I'm lousy about working with that. That's why I asked. So you're not seeing anything now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let me bring up the grade book. And what I'm going to show you is the project score, which nobody's turned it in, so you won't see anything. The infectious disease project. Come on, come on. Didn't see it. Let me look backwards. All right, there it is there. So now let me start the share. You should be seeing the infectious disease research project out of 100 points here. And I won't put in a score here until I get it graded, and that'll be probably close to finals week. Um, but you will see a color code. You just need to click on it, it'll tell you the score. Anything that's green means that the identity score, I don't remember what it's called, but there's a term for it that Turnitin does. Anything less than that's green will mean that your similarity to another paper is less than 20%. Anything that's green is good. I won't even look into it. Anything that's yellow is above 20%, like 20 to 30%, and I will look into what the identity score is checking and whether you plagiarized or not in those sections. No, some students will get a yellow score because Turnitin will compare it to what other students have written on this project. So if two students turn in a project on, oh, let's take one like trying to think of a disease here. Just drawing a blank here, just a second. Let's say chickenpox. Two students turn in a report on chickenpox. I imagine that some of the wording between those two projects will happen to be the same. Okay, so I'll go in and take a look at that. And if that's where the ability, where it's going over 20%, you won't be marked down for that. On the other hand, if you plagiarized, meaning you took a section from somebody else's paper, and I'll just click on it and it'll show me where it came from and what the wording is, and you use the same exact wording, that's plagiarism. Okay. And if you have a lot of that in the paper, you will be marked down severely. If it's just one time, I will probably just mark you down like a point or two and tell you you should have put that in quotes and gave a citation. If it's if something that you paraphrased, but they turned it in, caught it because you were used wording similar, and I take a look at each sentence, and you have a few different words in each sentence, but the majority of the sentence is the same. I know you copied it from somewhere, but I'll take a look at that and say, okay, they've rewritten it. They didn't change very many words, but there's a few words in each sentence that are different. I won't count that as plagiarism. That's fine. You are allowed to take somebody else's wording and then rewrite it. And I expect a lot of those um, paraphrasing will have similar words because you're discussing the same topic. All right. So you should have in each sentence, you should have a few different words, and then that's not plagiarizing. And what else do I need to talk about? Oh, if the plagiarism content is over, or not turn it in, the similarity content is over 30%, it'll give you an orange color right here. You can click on it and see what your similarity score is. And I will definitely look at those. And that means you probably have too much similar wording. Now, if all of them are in quotes and have a citation, that's okay. All right. So I will look into that. And if it's red, that means it's over 50%. And then that's way too much in either case. Even if you're paraphrasing, even if you're putting it in quotes, that's too much similarity. You will be marked down if it's in color red. And if you're plagiarizing, you will be marked down severely if it's in color red. So those are the color warnings. Turnitin will tell you what the color is. You click on it, it'll tell you what the score is. And what you want is to have your score 20% or less, in which case it'll be green. If it's in yellow, I'll take a look at it and see if it's okay. Because a lot of people in yellow will be okay because, like I said, Turnitin has gotten so good that it will notice the similarity between your paper and somebody else's paper written on the same topic. and that's okay. I expect that to happen. Any question about that? All right. Let me stop the share here. And then let me go in and close down the grade book, which I guess I could have done without stopping the share. Oh well. Close down the grade book. Just want to make sure you guys don't see any grades. I'm not good about that. Let me share my screen again. All right, so you should see my screen again. So that's how Turnitin will score, and it's a very good score. I do not know if Clark College allows me to look and see if the text is using AI, meaning you pulled something from AI. Turnitin does allow that to happen. I don't know if Clark College has turned that on or not. Maybe this term I'll find out. And I tried looking into that last term, and it just was too late for me to figure it out, meaning I already posted the grades and all that. But I can determine whether you have used AI on your project. I simply turn it into an AI and then ask the artificial intelligence to go through this paper and tell me if it has used AI to write part of the paper. So if you use artificial intelligence, you are allowed to use it. Let me go to the infectious disease paper. You should put it in quotes, give a citation for where you used it. And your in-text citations will be worth 10 points. The full references, meaning the full citations, will be worth 15 points. Let me get back to the AI. I've got that in here someplace. So I'll just try and tell you from memory. And that is you can use AI. And if you use AI either in quotes or you paraphrase it, you should put a citation saying where you got it and that it's AI. Of course, the citation will state that it's AI. Otherwise, you will be marked down because you're plagiarizing. You're plagiarizing the AI. Any question about any of that? So if you use artificial intelligence to write any of the paper, just make sure you cite what part of the paper you used AI. And that's okay. I just want to know how much of the class is using AI. Last term, about 20% of the class was using AI. I've got that in here someplace. I just can't find it. And let me talk about how you use an in-text citation because students frequently get that wrong. Don't really need this now, so let me open it here and close that down. Yep. So for an in-text citation, this is inside the body of your text. Let me blow that up. Hopefully you can see that. When you write your information in the text or the paragraph, and then you cite something and you put it in quotes, after the quotes, you should put the in-text citation, like Smith, and then the year. We'll go 2023. That's all you need to do. Even if you paraphrase, you should give the citation, in which case you do not need to give the quotes because it's paraphrased. You should also give the same in-text citation after you state something that is not common knowledge, like I don't know what the number is, but we'll say 2,000 people died of AIDS in 2023. This is not common knowledge, so you need to give us in-text citation. And if it's just one author, all you need to go is Smith, comma, and then the year. If it's two authors, you give the two names, Smith and Jones, and then the year will go 2024 this time. If it's three authors, for the in-text citation, all you do is the first author, and then et al., period, comma, and then the year. And that's the in-text citation. So remember, you always use in-text citation whenever you're quoting someone, whenever you're paraphrasing and someone or AI, and whenever you are stating a fact which is not commonly known. You should give an in-text citation. That is inside the body of the text. Now, at the end of the paper, you should give the references, which are the full citations. For each in-text citation, there should be a full citation, and that would be something like Smith. In there, you should give the name or the initials of the person. We're going to just go AJ. Oops. And then you give the year, in this case, 2023. You should give the name of the article that he wrote. If it's in a journal, you should give the journal name, the journal volume number, the page number, oops, and then the page number. I don't have that quite right. And that is a full citation for a article published in a scientific journal. If it is published in a textbook, you give, let's go ahead and do Smith and Jones for the textbook. You once again go here. Let me see if I can get that. Oops. Got too many there, but that's okay. Then you give the name of the article, that's the same, or the name of the chapter if that's the case. Name of book, or we'll just say book name. Editor of book. The publisher. And the city of publication. You'll note if you're giving a book, you do not need to give the page number. If you give the page number, that's okay too. If it's from a web page, we'll go ahead and take this one here. For the full citation. The name of the article, which could be the name of the page number, meaning name of the page, and then the web address, complete web address. Let me word it that way. So we should be able to click on that and go directly to the web page. Generally, I do not do that, but if I think something's wrong, I will click on it to make sure everything is correct. Name of the article, year. Yeah, that's right. Any questions? One exception here is if you're referring to something that has multiple pages and it's all something similar, you could give the main web page, which is usually the first one. So let's go ahead and do that one. And then you don't have to give each web page as long as it's the same and it's like a link underneath this one. An example would be something like www.cdc.gov slash, I don't know, COVID-19 slash, I don't know, in America. And then slash 2024. I don't know. Let's just go HTML. So let's say there's an A page and a B page. You don't need to give the B page. You just need to give the A page, and you don't need to have like this with this here, which is a different page. You don't need to have this one here. You can rely on that one, and as long as it's the main page. What you do not want to do is something like this, okay? Because that I can't get to the reference. You have to make it so I can get to the reference, and this I have no idea where even that is if you were to go like that. So if there is a main page that links to other pages, you may only have one complete reference. But if you have something that's slightly different, I don't know. Let's go here. It should be a different citation. So let's say instead of in America, in Europe. And then give, let's do something else. Something like England. Any question about any of that? I went into this in great detail because students often get the in-text citation wrong or the references wrong. So you should have the name, or if there's two of them, two names and the year. And if there's more than two, Smith et al. Period, dot year. This is the only time really that you can use et al. In your full citation, you should never use et al. You should write out each of the authors. There is one exception, which I don't want to talk about, and I will tell you there is an exception, and that is if you have more than 8 authors, you can do something besides write out all of the authors. And you guys can look that up if you want. Any question about any of that? All right.
I had a question about earlier when you were talking about you want this paper, since it's a research project, to be less than 20%, using like quotations or paraphrases from
No,
other
less than
sources.
50%.
Less than
Your
50%.
in-text similarity should be less than 50%. And that's counting that you have it in quotes and have citations, or you paraphrase and have citations, as well as anything else. But my point is, if you're quoting from someone, I don't want to see a paper where you're quoting and it's over 50% of the paper that you're quoting or paraphrasing. Okay, it should be
Okay.
in your own words.
Okay, I see. Because I'm just wondering, just because it's a research-based paper, so I'll be getting my information from other sources. So if I'm paraphrasing or, putting it in my own words
What
when
you
I'm
should do is
learning. I just,
write it in your own words,
right.
okay? And especially if you have a lot of your own words in the sentences, in the sentence, then Turnitin will not recognize it. But if it's only 3 words you change, I'll warn you, Turnitin will recognize it, and that's okay. I won't mark you down if you've changed 3 words in each sentence, but you must have different words in each sentence. Otherwise, you're quoting from someone.
Gotcha.
Remember, you're quoting from someone and you're plagiarizing. Remember, you're plagiarizing if ever you're using more than 3 words from somebody else. And so if you do, you should paraphrase and then give a citation. And that I won't
Okay.
count even towards the 50% because you've paraphrased.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We can close that down. Didn't know I changed that. Don't want to change that. All right. So the text should have a report content. I'll talk a little bit about that. And it will be worth 60 points. And there will be an additional 15 points for grammar, spelling, flow, and readability. If your grammar is good, your spelling is good, your flow and readability are all good, you'll get 15 points. If it's not all good, you'll get marked down. The text, as I stated, should be written in your own words as much as possible. You may quote and paraphrase, but if you do quote or paraphrase, you should give an in-text citation. There we go, right there. I got someplace where, never mind. I thought I was talking about AI there, and that's not. It's plagiarism. Plagiarism may result in a score of 0 in the paper, and you certainly will be marked down if the Turnitin shows that you plagiarized someone. So don't copy and paste. That's always something you should never do. Even if it's only a sentence, you should paraphrase it. Your in-text citations will be worth 10 points. Doesn't matter which citation format you use, but you must use in-text citation whenever you quote someone, whenever you paraphrase someone, whenever you use AI, you should give an in-text citation, or whenever you state something which is not commonly known. I have marked down students who did not have enough in-text citations because they were not giving a citation when they were stating something that was not commonly known. Usually, I do not give a penalty for that. Meaning usually students are giving a citation frequently enough, but you should have in-text citations. Your citations should be using scientifically appropriate and reputable sources, something from the USDA, the FDA, the CDC. Those will be good. Most of them are checked, even if they are not peer reviewed. Somebody will notice something wrong and will report it, and then they'll change it. It's the same with a professor's web page. If I have a mistake and somebody points it out to me, I'll actually give you a point of extra credit, and then I'll go in and change it. Okay. And I don't have many mistakes in my pages because, well, I've had them up for a long time, and like I said, I don't like having mistakes. So a professor's uh, edu web page will be good. However, if you get a web page that has student information on it that is not reliable and not reputable, a scientific journal, all of those are peer reviewed, like Nature and Science, so all of them are good. Popular magazines that are known to be reliable, like Scientific American, National Geographic, you may use those. Books and textbook, your biology textbook, your microbiology textbook, those are all peer reviewed, and there's a large number of them. I don't have a textbook with me handy right now, so I can't show you, but they're all peer reviewed, and so they should be reliable and reputable. Newspapers from a credible source like the New York Times is okay. The National Enquirer is not a credible source. The National Enquirer will publish anything and everything. The New York Times tries to be reputable. All right. A variety of scientific reputable television shows like the History Channel, PBS, etc. are acceptable. Generally, I can just look at the source and determine whether it is reputable or not. Be suspicious of any religiously, politically, or privately funded publication or website. They will have a bias, and their bias will come across on their page. So you want something that is accurate and reliable and reputable. And if you have a bias, it may not be that. Any question about that? I doubt anyone knows who Rush Limbaugh is, but I once had a student cite something that they got from Rush Limbaugh's webpage. That was a personal individual from the internet, and anybody can publish anything on the internet. And this guy is a political commentator. So obviously, it would be something that's not a source you should be using for a reference. Any question about that? You should not use personal websites. Okay, you can use .gov, most .gov sites. You can use most professors.edu site as long as it's a professor publishing the information. If it's a student information under .edu, you should not reference it. Wikipedia should not be cited as a complete reference. You may use it for your own information, and then you can use a reference that Wikipedia gives. But Wikipedia cannot be used as a reference because anyone can go into Wikipedia and change it. I once had got together with another professor and he went into Charles Darwin and he edited the page then and there. And I went and looked at it, and sure enough, his change was there. And that would be a site that Wikipedia checks carefully because people go into Charles Darwin and just do whatever they want. It's just something that a lot of people don't like. And so a lot of people will go in and make changes. And so Wikipedia has to check on that to make sure that they're fairly decent. So Wikipedia is a good site and you can use it, but you cannot use it as a reference because it can be changed at any point by any person. Any question about that? And I didn't state it, but someplace in here. It's right here. Your literature citation page, meaning your full citation, you should have each in-text citation in your full citation page, as well as each full citation in an in-text citation. Although there could be some full citations you don't use as an in-text citation. You should use the same citation style as your index citation. You must have 4 unique good sources referenced in your uh, citation page, your full references. You must have 4 unique good sources. You may have other sources, but you must have 4 unique good sources. Otherwise, you'll be marked down. And I can just take a look at it and determine whether it's a good source or not. The complete literature citation will be worth 15 points. Like I stated, students are often marked down because they do not give correct full references in the literature citation page. The document must be submitted as a docx, meaning MX, MS Word, a R2F or rich text format, or doc write, or maybe a docx text. You cannot do a PDF file because the plagiarism checker, what the heck is that? Turn it in, has trouble with PDF. Sometimes it can work, sometimes it doesn't. So I not allow PDF. If you need to, and you have a word processor, just save it down as rich text format. All of them can do that. And if you don't have that, you can save it down as .text. Write is what is that called? WordPad saves as. Actually, it saves it as .doc, but you can save it as .write. All right. The body of your text, the context of the text, should have these subject headings in them, so I know where each section begins and where each section ends. So you should have your complete title for the project, and then you should have the causative agent, discussing what is the agent that causes the disease. Is it a bacterium, a virus, a prion, or a eukaryote? If it's a bacterium, you should discuss the characteristics of the cell. What is its gram reaction? What is the shape of the cell? What is the growth arrangement of the cell? What are some metabolic capabilities, etc.? Anything unique about this organism causing the disease. If it's a virus, you should discuss whether it's a DNA virus or an RNA virus. And if it's an RNA virus, whether it's single strand or a negative strand. Single strand or double strand RNA virus. If it's single strand, you should discuss whether it's negative single strand or a positive single strand. And we'll talk about that when we talk about viruses. Any question about that? All right. So that's how you talk about the causative agent. You should then have another section discussing history. How long have we known about this disease? Historically, how was this disease treated? What's the history of vaccine development? If there is no vaccine for this disease, just state there is no vaccine for this disease. And maybe there's been no research on doing a vaccine. Like HIV, they have not come up with a vaccine for HIV, but they've done research trying to make a vaccine for HIV. They've done that for at least 20 years, maybe 30 years now, and they've never succeeded, which is kind of strange, but the disease is kind of strange. And um, if you remember COVID-19, they got a vaccine together after 1 year of research. Epidemiology describe the prevalence and transmission of the disease and other epidemiological features. Talk about the pathology, describe the effect of the pathogen on cells, tissue, organ systems. What damage does the pathogen inflict? Is toxin, well, you guys can read about that. What are the major signs and symptoms of the disease? Talk about the next section would be response and treatment. Describe the immune system acting against the pathogen. How is the disease diagnosed? What are the treatments for the disease? Is there antibiotic resistance to the disease? Describe prophylactic measures that can limit the risk of disease infection. The next section, socio and political economic considerations. Describe the historic and present day social, economic, and political issues that either help or hinder us in limiting the spread of the disease. What's the cost of the treatment for the disease? All right. So that's 6 different sections that should be in your paper. And like I said, you should have a subheading so I know where each section begins and each section ends. If you don't have the subheading, you'll get minus 6 points. If you don't have the section, that'll be minus 10 points for not having that section. So, well, excuse me, about 10 points. Some sections are 9 points. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Remember, this section is worth 60 points. All right, finally, I have where I put in artificial intelligence. May be used on this product, but it should be put in quotes, or better yet, use your own words and then give a citation. If AI, artificial intelligence, used either directly or indirectly, you must cite it. Otherwise, it's plagiarizing the artificial intelligence. So, example, if somebody gives the quote, the notation that people can be characterized as left brain or right brain is considered to be an oversimplification and a popular myth. Coming from OpenAI 2023, and that's the in-text citation, put in quotes. Guess I should have a period there. And then there's the complete citation, OpenAI 2023, ChatGPT. You put the new version, whatever version it is, large language model, and there's the page you got it from. Any question on OpenAI? Artificial intelligence. I just want to know how many students are using it, what proportion of the class is. I'm not going to ever record that so and so is using this version of artificial intelligence. Grammarly is an AI that some students have been using for years. And if you use it, you should just either put it in quotes or put it in paraphrase and then cite it. Okay? The grading rubric follows. This page project will be worth 100 points. You get 2 points for the cover information. Remember, this is just your information about the project, and it will be on the first text of the page. It'll be worth 2 points. The causative agent, 9 points for that section. The history, 10 points for that section. The epidemiology, 10 points for that section. Pathology, 10 points for that section. The response and treatment, 10 points for that section. Socio-political and economic issues, 19 points for that section. Altogether, that's 60 points. The quality of the writing, if your grammar is good, the spelling is good, the punctuation is good, the flow and readability of the paper are good, you get 15 out of 15. The in-text citations, if they're all correct, you get 10 out of 10. Literature citation page, if everything is correct, you'll get 15 out of 15 for a total of 100 out of 100 points. Any questions about this project? All right. If there's no questions, that's it for this lab. I will see you next week. Oh, wait a minute. Not next week. Next Thursday. Let me remind you that I may be called up for jury duty on Thursday. I probably won't know until Wednesday night. So there still is a chance that I will be selected for a jury, but I was not selected for today. All right. Any questions before I go?